All right, this is the lesson for Wednesday, Thursday, March 16th and 17th. For pre-AP, I wanted to remind you guys to read Animal Farm. It is due the first day back after spring break on April 4th. Everybody turned in their vocab 6 sentences, and we did a quick clause review. First, we looked at Sojourner Truth and looked at her video of an actress performing her famous speech at the Women's Convention in 1851. It's entitled Ain't I a Woman? It'd be great for you to look it up. Then we moved into the clauses review. So here it is, and it's also on Sojourner Truth. March 10th was Harriet Tubman Day, who is best known for the Underground Railroad, and she is very often confused with Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth was also an abolitionist and a feminist and promoted women's right to vote. So here we go. We're looking at clauses now in this short passage. And the first sentence, Sojourner Truth was an enslaved person who was born in New York in the late 18th century. So you're looking for words like who that set it off. And the first thing we see is this is a good place for it to divide. Let's see if I can draw on it. All right, so it should be able to divide right there. Now, this half reads like a complete sentence, and that is indeed your independent clause. This part is your subordinate clause. Now, the next thing that we would do is to try and identify that. Now, it's a subordinate clause because it cannot stand alone. Now I want you to decide if it's acting as a noun or if it's describing. So pause it, decide, and then come back. All right. So one way to see if it's describing is to use the fill in the blank test. So you fill in the blank and add the clause at the end. So blank, who was born in New York in the late 18th century. And then you go through the rest of the sentence. Sojourner Truth, who was born in New York in the late 18th century. Was, who was born in New York in the 18th century. And you see which words work best. Enslaved, who was born in New York in the late 18th century, or person, who was born in New York in the late 18th century. Most people are able to see that it is person, and you might even say that it is Sojourner Truth. And since both person and Sojourner Truth are nouns, then the words that describe a noun are adjectives. So this is an adjective clause. And I'll just squeeze it in there, and I'll abbreviate it next time. All right, so that's number one. Now let's do number two. Isabella is what she was called as a child. This one doesn't seem to have as natural a divider, but if you'll notice the word who, you can look for a similar word in sentence 2, and that would be what. So this is your subordinate clause. Now, is it describing or is it a noun? So in this case, I want to remind you that a linking verb is very similar to an equal sign. So Isabella is, and you could put a pretend noun here. Isabella is a person, or Isabella is pretty. That would be an adjective. Now look and see if the clause works as a noun or an adjective. It says it's what she was called as a child. That sounds like a thing to me. So this one is actually a noun clause. It does not modify or describe. Okay, we're going on to number 3 now. Whoever has studied her life understands the importance of her work. You should see the divider after life and pause it and decide which part is subordinate. Okay, so whoever has studied her life is your subordinate clause. Now you have to decide if it's descriptive or a noun. So do the fill in the blank test. Blank, whoever has studied her life. So this one's not really describing anything. And in fact, whoever has studied her life is the subject. So let me write sub over there. So that is the subject of the sentence. So you know it's working as a noun. So this one is a noun clause. All right. Now number 4. See if you can figure it out yourselves. Okay. She fought against slavery wherever she went. You should see the divider right here. And you'll notice that all the other ones start with whoever, what, or who. And you can also see in this sentence that there's a wherever. And wherever she went. That is your subordinate clause. Now, you need to figure out if it's describing. She fought against slavery wherever she went. So let's do the blank test. Blank wherever she went. She wherever she went, fought wherever she went, against wherever she went, or slavery wherever she went. And this whole subordinate clause describes fought. And what kind of word is fought? It's a verb. So something that describes a verb is an adverb. So this is an adverbial clause. All right? Now I'll just do one more with you, and I think I will go with number 5. An anti-slavery law was passed in New York in 1817, which led to Isabella's freedom in 1827. And lovely, it's giving you this comma, so that's very helpful. That's your divider. This part reads like an independent clause. It can stand alone as a complete sentence. So the rest of this is your subordinate clause, which led to Isabella's freedom in 1827. Now you need to do the blank test. Law, which led to Isabella's freedom, was passed, which led to Isabella's freedom. New York, which led to Isabella's freedom, and you should begin to see whether it describes or acts as a noun. And this one describes. And this whole clause is describing what? The law. And law is a noun, so this clause is an adjective clause. And I had the rest of the kids do the rest of these, and then we did them on the board. And then I reminded them that I gave you a handout where I videotaped myself answering the questions about clauses and subordinate clauses, and that you also have additional work you can go and do to reinforce what we just reviewed. All right, now let's move to the discussion questions. You'll see that you've still got Monday's lesson, your discussion questions. You've got videos from Tuesday. This is the research chart that I gave you, and this tells you how to adjust it so that how to make your chart. And here are your 45 through 47 discussion questions and your 48 through 50 discussion questions. So if you guys are on the band trip, maybe you can work together as teams. That would be fine with me. And in addition to this, the reading last night was chapters 51 through 57, and Thursday, tonight, it's 54 through 56. Friday, we're going to read 57 in class together, and by Monday, I want everybody to have method test prep 11 and 12 finished so I can take a grade. And don't forget, your test on grade expectations part 3 is next Wednesday or Thursday. All right, thanks. Hope everybody's having a good trip.